Have you ever felt like someone in your life doesn't just dislike you, but actively wants to see you fall apart? Not just annoyed by your presence, but obsessed with your downfall? If you've ever had that gut feeling, where their smiles feel fake, their praise too polished, their silence too loud, then this video might be the wake-up call you've needed. Before we dive in, take a second to subscribe to the channel and like this video if Stoic wisdom and real-life clarity matter to you. And I mean it. Watch till the end, because understanding these 5 signs could literally save your love life, protect your peace, and maybe even your safety. The shadow behind the throne. Marcus Aurelius was emperor of Rome, the most powerful man alive. And yet, in his private writings, what we now call meditations, he often spoke about betrayal, malice, and hidden enemies. He wrote, "It's a disgrace in this life when the soul surrenders first while the body still holds out." Why did a man with everything, power, wealth, armies, talk so much about malicious people? Because even at the peak, there are those who don't just envy you, they want to destroy you. And sometimes they do it wearing the mask of love, loyalty, or even friendship. So how do you spot them? Here are 5 chilling signs someone in your life doesn't just hate you, they want you gone. 1. They weaponize your vulnerabilities. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you shared your soul with them? Told them your darkest fears, your childhood wounds, the kind of secrets you never even told your closest friends? Maybe it was a late-night conversation, just the two of you, laying side by side, or sitting in the car after a long drive, heart wide open. And in that moment, it felt safe. They looked you in the eyes and said, "You can trust me. I'll never use this against you." So you did. You told them about how your father left, or how your mom made you feel invisible. You told them you never feel good enough. You confessed your fear of abandonment or your struggle with anxiety. You showed them every scar. Now fast forward, you're in a disagreement, a small fight maybe, but suddenly they say something like, "You're just like your dad, you run away from everything. Maybe if you weren't so broken, people would love you more. You're always so sensitive." That's why no one stays, and your stomach drops. Because those weren't just insults. Those were the very things you trusted them with. They didn't discover your weakness. You gave it to them. You gave it in love, in vulnerability, and they took it like a gift, only to use it as a knife. Does that sound familiar? If it does, I want you to pause, take a deep breath, and hear me when I say this. That is not normal. That is not love. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." But how do you keep that power when the very person you love is the one trying to take it away? The truth is, people who only dislike you might talk behind your back. But people who secretly want to see you destroyed, they get close. They become your lover, your best friend, your soulmate. And then they sabotage you from within. They study your insecurities. They wait for you to relax. Then at your weakest, they strike. They don't want to argue. They want to win. And what hurts most? It's not the insult. It's the betrayal. Because they didn't just break your heart. They turned your love into a weapon. So I ask you, have you felt this before? Has someone used your love, your honesty, your emotional nakedness to control you? If they have, you need to see it for what it is. Not a rough patch. Not a toxic moment. But a dangerous pattern. Because love builds. It never breaks. And anyone who uses your past against you is not trying to love you. They're trying to erase you. They smother you with flattery, then twist the knife. Do you remember the first time they made you feel special? Like you were the only person in the room? No, the world? They looked at you like you were magic. They said things like, "You're the most amazing person I've ever met. No one gets me like you do. I can't believe I found you." And deep inside, something lit up. Because maybe, just maybe, someone finally saw the real you. It felt like a dream, didn't it? But then something changed. Suddenly, they weren't saying those things anymore. Or worse, they started saying new things. "You're not as sharp as you think you are. You used to be confident. What happened to you? I thought you were different, but you're just like everyone else." Wait, what? How did it go from worship to withering? Let me tell you something most people don't realize. Not all flattery is love. Sometimes it's bait. Marcus Aurelius warned us in his meditations. The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts. But when you're constantly being praised, it colors your thoughts, doesn't it? You start believing you're everything to them. So when they suddenly criticize you or disappear, it shakes your identity to the core. This isn't an accident, it's a tactic. People who want to control you emotionally will build you up, not to lift you, but to have the power to tear you down. They study your emotional rhythm. They know exactly when to say what you need to hear. They become your source of validation. And then your biggest doubt, it's not about love, it's about power. Have you experienced this? That emotional roller coaster of being adored one minute and discarded the next? It's like they lit a fire inside your heart, and now they're watching it burn down with a cold smile. One moment they say, "You're everything." The next, "You're nothing without me." They flatter to hook you and criticize to control you. And you're left clinging to the version of them that existed in the beginning, hoping it will come back, blaming yourself when it doesn't. But here's the truth. That version was never real. It was a performance, a mask. Marcus said, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others, unless you are doing it for some mutual benefit." So ask yourself, is this love making you grow, or is it making you shrink? Real love doesn't put you on a pedestal just to watch you fall. Real love sees your flaws and chooses to stay anyway. If someone's compliments come with a price, it's not love, it's manipulation. Stay with me because the next sign is even more deceptive. When they become you, to destroy you, first they mirror you, then undermine you. Have you ever met someone who just seemed perfect for you? They liked the same music. They finished your sentences. They had the same dreams, same fears, same views on love, life, the universe. It was like looking in a mirror, and it felt electric, like fate. You thought, finally, someone who gets me, not just on the surface, but deep down where it really matters. They didn't just understand you. They became you. They watched your favorite shows, started reading your favorite authors, quoting the same philosophers you loved. They even picked up on your little quirks, your laugh, your gestures, your phrases. It wasn't just chemistry. It felt like destiny. But then, the shift. Suddenly you noticed they weren't just adopting your habits. They were competing with you. They'd share your ideas with others like they came up with them, take credit for your wins, even start presenting themselves as a better, upgraded version of you. And when you finally confronted them, they said things like, "You're too sensitive. You're paranoid. It's not always about you." Sound familiar? That's not love. That's mirroring. And it's dangerous. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." But what if your enemy is trying to become you? See, people who secretly want your downfall often start by getting as close to you as possible. They study you, imitate you, blend in, because it's the easiest way to get your guard down. They build trust by becoming your reflection, so you never suspect. They're silently planning to take your light and shine it as their own. Have you ever felt that? Like someone took the very things that made you you and used them to outshine you? It hurts. Not just because they're copying you, but because you trusted them with your essence. What starts as admiration turns into a silent war. They undermine you in conversations. They joke about your ideas. They subtly make others doubt your originality while borrowing your soul piece by piece. Marcus wrote, "If someone does wrong, it is because he is mistaken about what is good." These people don't want connection. They want replacement. And worst of all, they make you question yourself. You start dimming your light just to keep the peace. You start doubting your uniqueness because they're parading it around like a costume. But hear this loud and clear. You are not replaceable. Real love doesn't copy to compete. It complements. It celebrates. It adds, not subtracts. So if someone is becoming you only to erase you, that's not admiration. That's a warning. And you should never apologize for being authentically, unapologetically you. Stick around because the next sign is where this love story takes a darker, more isolating turn. They don't just copy you, they cut you off from everything. And you need to hear this because it could explain the confusion you've been feeling. For they isolate you from everyone you love. When was the last time you felt truly seen? By your friends, your family, your people? The ones who knew you before the heartbreak, before the confusion, before them. Remember how it felt to laugh freely with your best friend? To call your mom without hesitation? To spend time with people who didn't make you question your worth? Now think back. When did that all start to change? Because when someone doesn't just hate you, but wants to control you, the first thing they do is cut you off from your lifelines. But they don't do it all at once, oh no. They're clever, calculated. It starts with subtle comments. Your best friend doesn't really understand us. Your mom's always so negative. I just feel like your family judges me. Why do you need them when you have me? At first it sounds like protectiveness, like they want more time with you, like love, but slowly, day by day, conversation by conversation, you start pulling away from the people who love you unconditionally. You stop reaching out. You cancel plans. You isolate yourself, thinking it's your choice, but it's not. It's a slow manipulation, a silent takeover, because here's what they know. If they can take away your support system, they can control your reality. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." But what happens when someone takes away every voice that used to remind you of who you are? Your thoughts get darker, your self-worth gets weaker, and their voice becomes the only one that matters. They create a new world, a private one, where they're the hero and everyone else is the villain, where you are too emotional, too disloyal, or too dependent if you miss the people who once loved you freely. Have you ever been there? Suddenly realizing the people who cared about you are gone, and all you have is this one person who keeps moving the goalpost of love. They've turned your relationships into threats, your friends into bad influences, your family into toxic critics. And in the silence they create around you, they become the only voice left. That's not love. That's a trap. Because real love doesn't fear your friends. It doesn't compete with your family. It encourages you to stay connected, to be whole, not hollow. If someone tries to make themselves your entire world, while shutting every other door behind you, that's not passion, that's possession. Marcus said, "He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe." But how can you live in harmony when someone is trying to erase the melody of your past, your people, your truth? So ask yourself honestly, is this love bringing me closer to who I am or isolating me until I forget? Stick around, because in the next sign we uncover the final, most chilling tactic. They don't just hurt you, they enjoy watching you suffer. Firstly, they don't just hurt you, they enjoy watching you suffer. And I want you to really think about this. Have you ever seen someone smile while you were crying? Not a comforting smile, not the kind that says it'll be okay, but the kind that flickers, just for a second, like they found satisfaction in your pain. You were hurting, you were breaking, and they didn't comfort you. They watched. Maybe they even pushed you further. They said things like, "You're so dramatic. Why are you always playing the victim? You deserve this." And suddenly your heartbreak wasn't just yours anymore. It became their entertainment. Does that sound familiar? Let's rewind a little. Remember the beginning? The late night calls? The long texts about how they'd never let you go? How they said your pain was theirs? That they'd protect you from the world? You believed them. Because love, real love, protects. But now look closely. Who's causing the pain? Who's breaking the pieces they once promised to hold? Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." But it's hard, isn't it? When the person you once loved looks you in the eye with coldness and watches as you crumble, they don't just want to win the argument. They want to see you lose your spark, your voice, your will. And here's the dark truth. They enjoy it. Because for them, your suffering is proof of control. Your tears are evidence that you still care, that they still hold power. They provoke you, push you, then blame you for breaking down. They say things like, "I knew you'd overreact. This is why I can't trust you." See how crazy you get? And the worst part? You start believing them. You start thinking maybe you are too sensitive. Maybe it is your fault. Maybe you're just hard to love. But hear me. It is not your fault to feel deeply. It is not weakness to cry, to love, to break open. What's wrong is someone who enjoys that you're suffering. Someone who takes pleasure in your pain. That's not just a red flag. That's dangerous. Because people who hate you will distance themselves. But people who want to destroy you, they'll stay close, smile in your face, and burn you slowly so you think the fire is love. Marcus said, "To love only what happens, what was destined. No greater harmony. But love that hurts on purpose, that was never destiny. That was destruction in disguise." So I ask you now, gently but honestly, have you seen someone look calm while you broke down? Have they hurt you and then stood over you like a victor? That's not love. That's someone who doesn't want you healed, and you deserve more than that. You deserve to be loved, not watched as you fall apart. Stay with me because this isn't where your story ends. In fact, and it might just be where your freedom begins. But why? Why would someone want you destroyed? Here's the truth. Most people aren't evil, but some are deeply insecure. Your light exposes their darkness. Your strength amplifies their weakness. Your peace triggers their chaos. So they make it their mission to dim you, not always with fire, but with fog. Slowly, subtly, strategically. And the scariest part? Sometimes it's a family member. Sometimes it's your partner. Sometimes it's your best friend. But Stoic wisdom gives us armor. What Marcus Aurelius would suggest. Let's take a moment to walk through 10 powerful suggestions from Marcus Aurelius that can protect you from these people. 1. Don't waste time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Your integrity is your shield. Let your actions speak so loudly their lies seem absurd. 2. When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive. Never let their darkness infect your gratitude. 3. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Don't become what you hate. Rise above. 4. If it's endurable, then endure it. If it's not, then stop complaining. Know your limits. If someone's behavior crosses the line, act, leave, cut off. 5. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Keep your mind clean. Don't let their poison turn into your bitterness. External things are not the problem. It's your assessment of them. Reframe. Recognize their behavior, but don't let it define your worth. 7. To live a good life, we have the potential for it. If we learn to be indifferent to what makes no difference. Their opinions? Not your truth. Their approval? Not your fuel. 8. It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live. Don't spend your life surviving attacks. Spend it living boldly. Or look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look. The answer isn't outside. It's inside. 10. Reject your sense of injury and the injury itself disappears. Sometimes the real prison is holding on to pain. Let go, move on, grow. So what now? Now that you know the signs, it's time to look around. Not with paranoia, but with clarity. Pay attention to who cheers when you win and who goes quiet, supports you when you're weak, and who subtly kicks. Live intentionally, love cautiously, and lead with wisdom. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.